Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in and when you're watching this. Um, I'm Wendy De Rosa, and I wanted to come on live to talk about a couple of things that are going on right now. This is on the day after our winter solstice, and my daughter and I got in the car and we drove to at 5 o'clock our time. We drove to wherever we could with a picnic dinner and in the car, and we were watching Jupiter and Saturn, and it was so it was just such a beautiful and exciting thing for her and for myself. And I think sometimes when the solstice comes around, there's so much expectation around ritual and prayer and how to honor the solstice. If if you think of it from that spiritual or astrological perspective. And then there's just the longest day, or excuse me, longest night, shortest day, awareness of the solstice. And however you celebrate it, it's sometimes there's this expectation of what's the ritual that I need to be doing. And my ritual, quite honestly, was watching the stars and coming home and making puzzles with my daughter. It was, and holding inside myself what was just a tremendous honoring of, um, just an honoring of, the year and everything that's going on this past year, what has happened, and kind of the awareness that we're moving into a new era, the age of Aquarius. We're moving into this new whole entire shift of consciousness and cosmic shift into a new era. And it's, we're still in the shadow dawning of it, but it's a major change. And in honoring the year past, I there's so many awarenesses in my heart and mind of what I have been honoring. And one is really the amount of loss that we've experienced in death and people who have passed on. I think I've typed and written in more threads and comments of condolences than I think I ever have this year, of loved ones and people's family members and pets, and people who have passed on. And I wanted to take a moment in my solstice honoring to really recognize that there are people in our lives who change us forever, and they transform us into who we are. They got us to where we are in our lives, and they've touched us just by their existence and their life and what they've brought forward. And so there's just something tremendous about honoring those who have passed this year, and years past. And it doesn't have to be just 2020. It can certainly be, any remembrance of my uncle passed away 14 years ago on the solstice, and that he was also in my awareness. And so there's an honoring of people, of those who have passed, and the grievance of those people, and our own grief from this year and our losses and what we've experienced. Personally, I've also in this past year want to honor something that was pretty tremendous amidst all of this that's going on, COVID. And, I run a school, and I'm supporting people through so much shift and transformation, and their grievances, their losses, their transformation, their celebrations. I also had one of my own, which is that my book is almost finished. And I want to show you this. This is kind of cool. So just to share with you the process of what it looks like to write a book and submit a book. It's been a year, and there's the feverish writing, the everyday writing that goes into a book, and then the editing along the way, and the organization of writing a book. And then you submit it and you get edits back, and you're really only three-quarters of the way through when you first submit that manuscript. And then it comes back, and then you're in another series of edits. And then they send something called a typeset version. And this is what a typeset version looks like. It is where they send you what it's going to look like in when it's a final book. It shows you, this is less about the language, more about the margins. And so they send you the sort of the ends and where the book sort of was going to be cut, what the size of the book is going to look like and how your print is going to show up on the book. So I got this back today, which was great to see, what the book is going to look like. And it comes out in March. I'm very, very excited. Pretty soon we'll be able to announce the title and early what do you call it, launch enrollment, or not enrollment, but purchasing of the book. So we'll be updating you, but I'm in that process right now of seeing what the book looks like, and we have another final edit, and then it'll be done and it'll go to print, and we'll be launching it in March. So, what I wanted to share with you today is something that comes out of this book, and it's sort of some excerpts, but some of kind of where we're sitting in this shift from our solstice period and the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, and my personal opinions or take on some of this. So one is that I obviously I train a lot of people in their intuition, and one category of that is empaths. So empaths are people who feel energy through their sentient body, and a lot of that is emotional energy. And empaths have been come to understand their experience through their symptoms of shutdown and overwhelm, or overly emotional, or feeling too much, and it taking a toll on their physical body. And I wanted to share that, those of you who've taken a lot of my programs and courses understand this, is that version of empath is called overly empathic. And it means that there is something going on in the interior of the body, and that something is unprocessed energy, unprocessed wounds in the body. And when we have a lot of unprocessed energy in our body, we are overly sensitive. We get triggered easily. We pick up energy easily, and it impacts our energetic boundaries, the ability to be able to stay centered and grounded in ourselves amongst emotions. And I personally, and this is a lot of what I write about in my book, is that empaths are actually a big part of what is shifting our consciousness. That empaths are becoming aware of their gift as an empath and as an intuitive, and that empaths are also learning the tools that they need to be learning to be able to hold their center and be part of transformation, as opposed to being victim to energy that happens in the world around us, or getting consumed by energy. And so part of that, I wanted to give you some pieces here about how empaths are such a big part of changing this planet, and how they're such a big part of the rise on this planet and the shift in consciousness. So the first is that empaths have, so first of all, connection is incredibly important for human beings. Many, many people are overly empathic, whether they identify as empaths or not right now. And part of that is because of the unprocessed wounds we're holding, and the unprocessed wounds humanity is projecting. And so, what happens when we're young, or at any given time in our development, when we're sitting with an emotion and we have no connection on that emotion? I got hurt, and there's no one there to help me understand it, repair it, move through it, process it. That hurt remains in the system energetically, and maybe even the physical body or the nervous system, as a wound. And when we have many, many wounds such as that, I never got connection on my experience or the feeling that I had. That wound sits in the body, and we compound those wounds. They end up, we have layers upon layers of those wounds in our body. We end up sitting in isolation or abandonment, or the feeling of that no one's really with me. I'm alone in my experience. I have no one to help me understand what exactly was going on for me at the time. And this is sometimes our inner child consciousness, our little boy, little girl consciousness in us that lives with that awareness. No one helped me understand my experience. Well, empaths, part of the gift of empaths is that they can provide connection. I do understand. I've been there. I know what you're feeling. You're not alone in your experience. The empaths carry the power of empathy, and that doesn't mean I am taking on that feeling or I'm going to take it on and fix it and transform it and make it better for this person. But empaths carry the power to be able to say, I understand. I'm giving you a connection. I'm letting you know I know what you're feeling. And that alone takes an individual out of being in abandonment and isolation and loneliness and essentially trapped in their experience and in their feeling. That is a power that an empath embodies and and uh, they they live with in their system. It literally, as you know, that as an empath, I can just give someone a connection for their feeling. I can just let someone know I understand, and I have heart for what you're experiencing. That's all that needs to happen. It doesn't even need to be taking it the next step further for the individual. Sometimes it's just an acknowledgement that can help someone you feel that they have a place on ground, that they're not alone. Secondly, one of the other ways that empaths can really transform this planet is when we do start to really acknowledge the emotional process, and particularly grief. That grief is a not a negative experience, but that we can really transform grief into honor. I'm honoring life. I'm honoring those who have passed on, just as I was speaking about in the beginning. I'm honoring life, or how this person had impact, or this animal had impact in my life, honoring the process, honoring our anger, honoring our emotions, that they are purposeful, they are worthy, they are necessary, they are important for us to feel, because we have received so much teaching on negative emotions, on that emotions are negative. And so honoring those emotions. Next is that it's so important that empaths start to understand their intuition, and that you have intuition, and your intuition is meant to be trusted. It's time to trust your intuition. Intuition is no longer an in the closet thing. It's time. Like, let it out. I'm intuitive. I have intuitive feelings. I know what I'm here for, and I'm trusting my gut and on whatever it is. Trusting your intuition is important. Another aspect of how empaths will change and shift this planet is that empaths will start to find, and they have already, it's not even starting, but they're finding purposeful anger. So that means that they are finding what has been misaligned, what has been injustice, what has been wrong, what has not felt right, and that purposeful anger is being shifted into advocacy. And they're using advocacy for change and transformation. If something doesn't feel right, something is wrong, whether it's in the justice system, whether it's in the economy, whether it's social, whatever it might be, whether it's in the system that we grew up in. If it's no longer aligned, it's or hasn't felt aligned for centuries, that the empath is finding that power from within to use their voice towards advocacy, and and bringing and being part of a movement to shift consciousness. That is a big power that an empath carries in their system. No longer being victim and powerless to what you can't control, but finding that advocacy in you to make change in the ways you can. The other is that empaths also have a compassion for humanity, which means that empaths find their spiritual heart and will operate in the world by giving or helping in some way through their heart, reaching out and supporting humanity on some level. And then the last one that I have to offer here on how empaths will change this planet is to understand your suppressed hurt and the suppressed hurt of others. Empaths who operate from suppressed hurt will continue to absorb energy. It will just happen automatically. So, what that means is that it is our work as empaths to continue to heal our wounds, to identify what history we're holding in our body, whether it's ours or whether it's ancestral, passed on through the lineage, or even brought into this lifetime on a soul level. We start to really understand what we're holding and embodying and embarking upon the healing process and deeply getting the support to deeply heal what you're holding and understand it's not meant for you to hold or carry going forward so that you may live in conscious grounding and right alignment for you in your life going forward in this new era. So I hope this supports you in any way, any parts of these pieces do. And I look forward to sharing with you more about my book when it's out. And also, I wish you happy holidays. I did post a video on a holiday gift. On a guided meditation. If you had a chance to watch that, you can look in my page here to see it, to watch it. Hope that supports you also through the holidays. Many blessings, lots of love, and I hope to see you soon.